A friend of mine, she's got an MS, and she made a video so that people could better understand what she's been through and what is going on in her life and what MS really is. And it made me think that, you know, people don't really understand what I've been through and how my injury works. So I thought I would tell the story, and it's kind of long, so if you're still here by the end, then I applaud you. I was 21 years old. I was with my then best friend, Kara Ann, and we were coming home from hanging out with our other best friend, Julie. And it was an ordinary night. We weren't doing drugs or drinking or doing anything that would impair us. And we were on Route 20 on the way back home, as Carrie Ann had to go to work, and I see police lights up ahead. They're pretty far in the distance. And then this car, I don't even remember what it looks like. It went whizzing past us, and Kara Ann had to go onto the side of the road a little bit to get away from the car because it was coming into our lane. And once she righted herself back onto the road, this white Kia, this huge monster of an automobile, just turns, and we hit it like right in the middle, head on. And the last thing I remember thinking is this is gonna ruin our nights. I blacked out for a while, and when I woke up, I was in hell. I would imagine that's what hell's like. The front of the car was on fire. I had melted glass on my legs. Kara Ann was screaming bloody murder, just over and over and just cursing at these EMTs that were just trying to help us. And the right side of my body was crushed basically into the metal of the car. And the EMTs were, you know, trying to talk to us and calm us down, and Kara Ann just kept screaming, just cursing, just at the EMTs, just, fuck you, get me the fuck out of here, fuck you fucking assholes. And I was in shock, so I just was kind of pleading with the EMTs. Hey, please help us. Just please get us out of here, please. And one of the EMTs asked me if I could calm my friend down because they couldn't help her the way that she was carrying on and screaming and thrashing. And I didn't know what to do. And pretty much all I could move was my left arm. So I reached over and I grabbed her hand so that she would know that she wasn't the only one in the car and that she wasn't the only one going through it. I don't really remember them actually getting me out of the car. I know that they had to cut the car open, and I remember them loading me into the ambulance and cutting my hoodie off, and I thought Julie's boyfriend's gonna be so mad because he just gave me this hoodie. After that, it was just all hallucinations for a while. I thought ants were coming down from the ceiling into my lungs, and I was breathing them in, and that's why I couldn't breathe. But in all reality, I had a tube down my throat because I physically couldn't breathe by myself. And they used to suction out the phlegm, and when I would see it, I'd be like, yep, there's the ants, like the mushed up ants that died in my lungs. And another hallucination I had was that my dad covered the ceiling with these diamond-like rocks to keep the ants from falling, because he said my baby deserves diamonds. But in my mind, those rocks started to fall too, and the ants came back and toads were jumping down my throat. And this is what I thought was happening for God knows how long. And my first lucid thought, or my first lucid memory, was going into surgery, and Alicia Eddy and two other people that I no longer speak to, but they were my friends at the time. They came to see me off to surgery, and Alicia had this stack of gossip magazines, and she told me when I got out of surgery that she would read them to me. And surgery went. Don't even remember what it was for. I had so many surgeries that I just don't know. And the next couple of next month or so was just me lying in bed. I couldn't move anything from my neck down, and I could barely move my neck because I had a halo, screwed into my skull to keep my neck from moving because I had broken it. And I was very unaware of the rest of my body. I had no idea what was going on with myself. It was just from here up, that's all I knew. That's all that existed to me. And I would get these severe anxiety attacks because of, they finally took the tube out of my throat and I had a trach. And I would just get these severe anxiety attacks, like I can't breathe. And then the nurses would yell at me like, you can't breathe on your own. That's why you have a machine there. And they just made me feel worse about the entire situation. And I couldn't speak. I had no voice. I couldn't eat. I had a tube feed in my stomach. And to get people's attention, I would just make this clicking noise, like, and that's all I could do. And then once they looked at me, I would, mouth words to them, and that's all. That's the only way I could communicate. And Julie and Kara Ann, they were the only ones that could read my lips flawlessly. Everybody else had so much trouble, and they could do it perfectly just because we were just like soul sisters. They just knew. Julie was the only one that could calm me down when I was having my anxiety attacks. And that just, I didn't even sleep when I was there. I was so afraid that I would need something in the middle of the night, or because I couldn't, call for the nurses or anything, so I would just stay up all night. And the only times that I could sleep is when my family and friends were there. And people would come to visit me, and I couldn't say anything. I had no words. I would just chew on my lips, because that's all I could do all day, basically. That, and stare at the ceiling and make patterns in the ceiling with my mind. It drove me insane to a point. But finally they decided to ship me off to Georgia to the Shepherd Center so I could get better therapy. And while I was there, I had to learn how to keep my mouth closed, because I literally was like this all the time, and it was like an exercise for me to keep my mouth closed. And they would deflate my cuff so that air could come through and I could talk a little bit, but it was like this robotic voice, and the first time I heard it I cried, because I didn't want that to be my voice forever. And well, thank God my actual voice came back for the most part. And I had to relearn to eat, and I couldn't stomach any food. I hated eating. Speech therapy was the hardest part of my day, because she would make me eat, and she would deflate my cuff, which scared me, and she would say, you have to take 3 bites today. Jello doesn't count. And it took me so long to be able to eat again. And I had physical therapy, and they taught me how to drive a sip and puff chair with this tube. You blow into it to drive, and because at that point I still couldn't move anything, and they told me I caught on very quickly that I was the best driver they'd seen. And they used to, I remember the first time I got to go outside, it was like heaven, because you take these things for granted. But they're huge. So, I also had occupational therapy with Ginger, and she was my favorite, but don't tell anybody. They would put my arms in these sling things, and they would kind of just dangle, and I would have to try to move a tiny bit, because I could, inch my arms a little bit, and they made me, like, practice writing, and it was atrocious, but, I was there for about 3 months, almost by myself. My family was back in New York most of the time, and, I made a lot of friends in the staff there. It's just a really good, really caring facility, and they really care about the people there, and so they're just nicer. So they shipped me back to New York after about 3 months because New York Medicaid didn't want to pay for me to be in Georgia, I guess. And the plane ride back was just, I was so scared. I'm so afraid of flying. And when I got to this new place, this Northeast Center in Kingston, I automatically hated it because I was just like, this isn't my home. I don't want to be here. But, that's when I finally got off the ventilator. Just by some fluke, it fell off, and I thought I was gonna die and suffocate because the tube just fell off, and I just started breathing on my own, and I was like, oh my god, like, I never would have known that I could breathe on my own had the tube not just fallen off of me. And the doctors back at Albany Med, they told my parents that I was never gonna breathe on my own again, and I would never move from the neck down. But when I was in the Northeast Center, I slowly was regaining some movement in my arms, and I had occupational therapy with Shannon, and she became one of my closest friends. And I began to be able to do things for myself. It was such a slow process. But after a couple months, I still couldn't feed myself. And I remember this woman, her name was Odessa. She was like, I think you've given up. And at the time, she was probably right. But those words lit a fire under me. And that's when I started being able to feed myself and, put on my own makeup. I don't wear any anymore, and I just started to be able to do things, like just small, tiny things that people take for granted. And every time I accomplish something new, I pat myself on the back. I do. Why shouldn't I? I think I deserve it. I made a lot of friends when I was at the Northeast Center. And if you could just see it there, just some of the people, you would thank God that you have what you have. Even I do. After seeing some people and what their life consists of, it's not life. I don't know, I just wanted to tell my story, and hopefully it resonates with someone, and they decide to be thankful for what they have. Because God has a plan for all of us. I'm not quite sure what mine is yet, but I do know He got me through the hardest thing I've ever gone through in my life. And if I can do it, so can you.